For a minute, let's forget about the charts, the indicators, all the strategies. Let's talk about that feeling, that quiet internal battle that, well, every single one of us faces as a trader. Because I think the real reason most of us struggle, it actually has very little to do with our system.
So, have you ever felt that? Your heart just starts racing right before you click the button. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Your fingers just hovering over the mouse, your breathing gets a little shallow, and you get that knot in your stomach. It's this weird mix of hope and fear and adrenaline, right? It almost feels like you're standing on the edge of a cliff. I think we've all been there.
Okay, so that feeling, a lot of times we just try to push it down, right? Or worse, we tell ourselves, oh, this is just excitement. But that stress, that physical feeling of anxiety, that's a really important signal. It's basically your mind screaming at you that something is fundamentally wrong with what you're about to do.
And what do we do when that stress hits? Our first instinct is almost always to blame our tools. We start thinking, maybe my entry point isn't perfect, or is this indicator lagging again? And then we go down that rabbit hole, right? We start searching for a better strategy, some kind of holy grail that's going to make that feeling just go away. But we are absolutely looking in the wrong place.
And this is why. For most of us, especially when we're just starting out or struggling, our focus is just completely off. The real problem isn't what's happening on the chart. It's how much emotional weight we're tying to the outcome of this one single trade.
Here's where you can really see the difference. An amateur trader, they're obsessed with finding that perfect entry, with being right, with predicting what the market's going to do next. Their ego, their identity, it's all tied up in the outcome. But a professional, they ask a completely different set of questions. They're thinking, how much can I lose on this trade and still be totally okay? And how can I just control my own behavior no matter what the market does? It's a huge shift. And that really gets to the core of it. Look, the market is going to do whatever it wants to do. You have literally zero control over it. The only thing you can actually control in this whole game is yourself. And that control begins with one simple decision: how much you're willing to risk.
So, let's talk about why a loss can feel so devastating sometimes. It's not really just about the money, is it? When the amount you put on the line is too big for you emotionally, that loss stops being just a data point. It's not just a losing trade anymore. It suddenly becomes a judgment on you, on your intelligence, your skill, your worth. It just feels personal.
And from there, it just sets off this disastrous chain reaction, like dominoes falling. It all starts with that one thing: risking too much. That's the first domino to fall. Then, because the risk was too big, the loss feels like a personal failure. And what does that do? It triggers fear, frustration, maybe even anger. And once you're in that emotional state, you're pretty much guaranteed to make impulsive decisions, right? Revenge trading, doubling down, throwing all your rules out the window.
And this, right here, is why most traders fail. I really believe this. It's not because their strategy is bad. It's because their risk is emotionally unsafe. It just completely destabilizes their psychology. And when that happens, it's impossible to follow any strategy consistently. I don't care how good it is on paper.
Okay, so what's the solution here? Well, the good news is it's not some crazy, complex formula. It's actually a pretty simple but really profound shift in how you think. It's all about embracing something that, well, it might sound a little counterintuitive. It's about finding the power in being boring.
What do I mean by boring risk? It's actually really simple. It's an amount of money that is so small, so insignificant compared to your whole account, that the outcome of the trade, whether it's a win or a loss, has pretty much zero emotional impact on you. It's the amount of risk that lets you stay objective, stay calm, and just execute your plan.
A really common example of this is the 1% rule. Let's say you have a $10,000 account. 1% of that is just $100. Now think about that for a second. $100. Can you lose that amount on a trade and still just go about the rest of your day without feeling super angry or anxious? For most people, the answer is probably yes, and that right there is an emotionally safe, boring risk.
See, this changes the whole game. The goal isn't to get rich on one trade anymore. It's not about hitting a home run. The goal is just to survive, to stay in the game. You have to survive those inevitable losing streaks so you can be around for the winners. Your strategy, whatever your edge is, it only works over a large sample size of trades, and boring risk is the thing that lets you survive long enough for that edge to actually play out.
So if trading isn't supposed to be this emotional roller coaster of anxiety and excitement, then what does real control actually feel like? Well, the answer might surprise you. It feels quiet.
Yeah, when you're truly in control, your trading day just becomes systematic. The trades start to feel repetitive, almost mechanical. Your emotions kind of flatline. You don't get a huge rush from a win, and you don't get crushed by a loss. A losing trade just doesn't ruin your whole day. The entire process, honestly, it becomes pretty boring.
And that is the big takeaway here. That feeling of boredom, the very thing that so many traders are trying to escape, that's actually the goal. It's the clearest sign that you've taken your ego out of the equation. It's a sign of discipline. It is a sign of true control.
So the next time you sit down in front of your charts, I want you to try asking yourself a different question. Not, how much can I make on this trade? Instead, just ask yourself, quietly and honestly, how much can I afford to lose right now and still feel completely calm? How much can I lose and still feel like myself? Whatever that number is for you, that's your true risk, and that's where real, sustainable trading begins.